don't know if you've heard about this, but apparently there was an event in Las Vegas that Kamala Harris had, and apparently she was showing discrimination towards Muslims. Apparently her staff decided not to allow Muslims in. So we're going to get into this, and we're going to talk a little bit about that interview that Kamala Harris had with Katie Couric as well, in reference to this situation with Israel and Gaza. So this actually took place January 27th, and this was posted on Nevadans for Palestinian Liberation. Let's see what happened to these guests here.
We are choosing who's going in and out of the event. I'm sorry.
Why are you choosing us not to go in when we have an invite?
Right, you specifically singled us out.
That's racist. Is it because we have hijabs?
I'm happy to talk to
someone
else.
It is, because that's clearly, I was afraid of this.
You
That's crazy.
singled
That's
us
not.
out of everybody. What?
Isn't that against Democrats? Whole campaign? That's very Islamophobic. That's very racist.
I'm sorry.
Are you?
You guys keep coming through.
We have an invite.
You're part of the LGBT community too, right? And you're still going to kick us out?
So you can see what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen. So here you have Democrats. You know, if it were a Republican politician doing this, oh, the Democratic Party would have a field day with this. MSNBC, CNN, they would have a field day with this, right? But because it's Democrats who are doing it, this just goes unnoticed. I think the only people that have talked about this has been independent media. So you see what they're doing. The women who were holding the camera, he told them that they cannot come in. And they were asking, like, is it because we're wearing a hijab, right? So he won't let them in. Listen to this.
Come on through.
Are you serious?
That's crazy. Wow. Now I really won't vote for Biden and Harris. That's crazy.
Interesting. And
whose decision is that?
Las Vegas too.
Because we want to talk to them.
Okay.
Right. Whose decision was this?
Come on through.
You see this, guys?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. They're racist, Islamophobic, obviously.
And you're being racist.
Get a ticket or something?
They're disinviting us because we have hijabs on our heads. That's why, people. This is not a democracy. This is disgusting.
We're being singled out.
Obviously, we're the only hijabi women. That's kind of clear. They're disinviting us because we have scarves on our heads.
Literally.
That's disgusting. When we have an invitation, just like everyone else, what is the problem?
By a man who's in the LGBT community too. You're going after another group.
Can they come in? They were already.
So the people over here are saying they were already here, right? So they're noticing that they're letting other people in, but they're not letting these two women in.
Why not? It is,
Yes,
because
it is.
why isn't it? We have an invitation. No, here, don't come up with excuses because
You are a black woman and you're coming up with excuses for racism.
You see this? So here's what they're doing. They have a black woman telling them that they can't come in. So remember when I told you before, I said there's different types of racism. I said a lot of times it's easier to call out conservatives for being racist because it tends to be more overt. Well, a lot of times with Democrats, it's done in different ways. It's more covert. And this is an example of covert racism. Notice he doesn't explicitly say you can't come in because you're Muslim, but he tells them that they can't come in. Doesn't give them a reason why. That's a covert style of racism. They're not really giving you a reason, but you know, deep inside your heart and stuff, you know what it is. This is why I say liberals do this too.
Wow.
I didn't.
Yes,
I
you
didn't
did.
give you an excuse.
You
I'm
just
letting
said that
you
we're
know.
not being
I'm letting you
discriminated,
know
but
that
when
you
you clearly are.
I'm letting you know that you've been disinvited from the event.
Why?
So you can choose.
See this? Disinvited from the event. So Kamala apparently didn't want, I guess, Muslims in the audience at her event. Someone was asking in the comments, what city is that? That happened in Las Vegas. And here's proof here that they were actually signed up for the event. Both of these Muslim constituents had RSVP'd for the event. were given wristbands upon checking in and were standing in line when the Harris campaign officials denied them entry. So you can see it here. Here's the email from Demi Falcon. So you can see arrival instructions. It tells them what table they're going to be seated at. It says table A, right? And then you can see here's their wristbands. So, yeah. So what's interesting is here now you have a Democrat. You have a Democrat discriminating against Muslims. Remember what happened when Donald Trump did that and all these Democrat politicians lost their mind? Remember that? Wasn't Kamala Harris one of the people that said he cannot do this? He's, lost his mind, and she threw her hat in the ring to run for president in 2020. And now you see them doing the same thing. This is another example to show you how these parties are very much alike. Now, wait for it too, because it's Black History Month. So Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all of them are going to come up with all types of virtue signaling while they give you nothing. So that brings up this issue as well. And this makes me wonder if this is part of the reason why she's not letting Muslims come in. Pro-Palestinian activists in San Jose interrupted Kamala Harris during her speech about the fight for reproductive freedom. So listen to this. I'm wondering if this is why she's not letting Muslims come in now. Either way, it's still bullshit.
And so,
You say that the administration is working for reproductive freedoms, but how can that be true when the United States is complicit in the destruction of hospitals and schools in Gaza and then content murdering? Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! You would call for a ceasefire now!
that she needed. We have a lot of very important issues that we all must discuss, but the topic for this discussion is what we need to do to fight back against laws that are criminalizing healthcare. And so,
it's just the hypocrisy for me. You're talking about reproductive rights while you're actively participating in defending genocide, because they don't really care about your reproductive rights. They don't care about this stuff, guys. These people are fake. They're frauds. So I want you to see this discussion here with Kamala and Katie Couric, because this issue of Israel and Gaza does come up. And I think this is something that is very revealing. And I think this is one of the reasons why there are rumblings that they really do not want Kamala Harris to remain VP. And I don't think they want Joe Biden really to remain president. But this is very revealing. Watch this. I told you Kamala is not great with interviews. Watch.
Turn to Israel because it's been more than 3 months after the horrific attacks of October 7th. People are seeing graphic images of devastation and thousands of civilian casualties in Gaza. I'm sure you're seeing them too. Many people in your party, especially young people, have called for a ceasefire for months now. And I'm wondering if you could articulate for us why you believe that is not a good idea, if you do believe that.
So let's start with October 7th.
So she already starts off to a bad start with, let's start with October 7th. Kamala Harris knows the history of the Palestinian people. She knows the history of Israel. She's very well aware. So again, anyone who tells you, I'm gonna say this to anybody, guys, anyone who sits down and says to you, let's start with October 7th, these people are being disingenuous, because what they are basically saying to you, they are trying to ignore everything that happened to the Palestinian people that brought them to October 7th. So pay like close attention to that, because like I said before, this is very telling.
On October 7th, we saw a terrorist organization, Hamas, commit an act of sheer brutality and terrorism when they attacked and slaughtered over 1,200 people, innocent people. Many of them young people attending a concert. Women were raped.
Pause. Why is Kamala Harris still telling this lie? They still have no evidence of that. The New York Times has gotten a lot of pushback, not just from the gray zone, by the way, to retract that story because they had no claims to back it up. So why is Kamala Harris still telling this lie?
Horrendously so. Not and all it is all rape is always horrendous, obviously, but what we have seen
barbarism of the crimes.
Well, and you
hear this? See, here comes those words, barbarism. They bring that up again, right? You want to talk about barbarism? Let me tell you something they don't talk about, right? You know what was trending earlier on Twitter? The My Lai massacre in Vietnam. That was going around, making the way around on Twitter today. You know who brutally attacked and assaulted Vietnamese women? U.S. soldiers. There was no accountability for that. Had it not been for Seymour Hersh, we probably would have never known about the My Lai massacre in Vietnam. U.S. soldiers did that. They had proof of that. They had evidence of that. No accountability, none whatsoever. Committed war crimes. These were not soldiers. These were civilians, women and children. Our country did that. Won't hear people like Kamala bring that up, though. Don't want to paint that picture of the American soldier.
Using rape as a tool of war, right? And so I will start this conversation by saying, and Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. We've been very clear that far too many Palestinians, innocent Palestinian civilians, have been killed. And that Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. We've been very clear, humanitarian aid must flow. From day one, I will tell you, one of my areas of priority included, let's think about the day after, because
she's talking about the things that they said. She said humanitarian aid must flow. They're still blocking humanitarian aid, you guys. There is still journalism coming out and videos that have been posted that show you they are still blocking the trucks from getting into the people of Gaza. So just because you say this, Kamala, that you've been clear about what needs to happen, it is very obvious that Israel is not allowing it to happen. So what is the U.S. government going to do? You're still going to continue to fund Israel while they're starving people? And you're rewarding them with weapons and money?
we must stay focused on an eventual two-state solution.
Well, having said that, I want to tell you something which I'm sure you're well aware of, that Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, recently said. He rejected U.S. calls to scale back Israel's military action in the Gaza Strip or to support a Palestinian state after the war. He even said that Israel, quote, must have security control over the entire territory west of the Jordan River, which includes Gaza. So given those positions, how can you possibly come together? How can the U.S. and Israel come together to solve this? And should aid to Israel be conditional?
So Katie just explained to Kamala that I know you guys are saying there needs to be a two-state solution, but the leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, is saying there will not be. He does not want there to be a Palestinian state. By the way, he's been saying this going all the way back to the 70s. This isn't new. Listen to what Kamala says.
I'll start with the principles that we are applying to this discussion, which we've been very clear with the Israeli government about. One, as it relates to the day after, there should be no reoccupation of Gaza. There should be no changing of the territorial boundaries of Gaza. That the Palestinians are entitled to, in equal measure with Israelis, security and prosperity.
Doesn't sound like Bibi Netanyahu agrees with that.
We're the United States of America. I'm telling you our position.
So, like this is why Do you see the problem? It doesn't matter what your position is. Israel is not following the rules. And nobody is stopping them from doing it. The ICJ made the ruling. After the ICJ ruling, they're still running free to do whatever they want. They're still killing civilians in Gaza, which is exactly what I was afraid was going to happen. So it doesn't matter what her position is. What matters is who is going to hold Israel accountable.
And we take our role in this discussion very seriously. There may be disagreements. That doesn't mean we're going to change our mind about the principles that are important to be applied to this process in terms of what a day after should look like. And those principles remain consistent. We believe very strongly, I believe very strongly, Palestinians are entitled to dignity and self-determination. We believe there must be a two-state solution for the sake of the stability in the region.
You don't believe that? Those are Obama's words. Let's be clear, people. That was Obama's statement. And until Obama made that statement, you weren't even saying those words, Kamala. Joe Biden was not saying those words. You guys can't even think on your own. It's like you got to wait for cues from Barack Obama before you actually take a stand on something. Let's wait and see what Obama does. Those aren't your words.
Believe very strongly as a first principle, Israel must be secure, that Hamas must not be in a position to commit terrorist acts against innocent people or the people of Israel in particular.
So should aid, Madam Vice President, be conditional? If the Prime Minister of Israel is stating this, should that aid not come if there's not that kind of flexibility that you're seeking?
We are right now in a position of negotiating with Congress to follow through on a commitment we made for aid. And we are taking it one day at a time in terms of what is happening in the region and how we are addressing the issue. But that's
not answering the question.
Where we are right now.
So I don't feel like you really answered my question.
I think I did.
Well, do you think it should be conditional? I know you're carrying out.
That's not our position right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. They don't think that aid to Israel should be conditional. They're going to give aid to Israel regardless because they are bought by these organizations that are Israel first and support Israel. They're bought by AIPAC. They're bought by a J Street. That is why they will not condition aid to Israel. So you don't care about this. Let's think about this, folks. If I tell you that I care about the self-determination of the Palestinian people and that they need to have a Palestinian state, if I tell you that how Israel defends their self actually matters and there have been too many innocent Palestinian civilians killed, but then I turn around and tell you we are not going to condition aid to Israel, basically, I'm giving you a big F you to your face. Because if you really feel like the Palestinian civilians should be protected and that Israel should not be able to continue to slaughter them, you would not continue to give aid to Israel. When you're giving the aid to Israel, you're giving them the weapons and you're saying you can use it. You know, that's like me giving you a cake and saying, don't eat this cake. It doesn't make any sense. Here's a bag of candy. You go to a little kid and say, here's a bag of candy. I'm giving you this bag of candy, but don't eat the candy. So she doesn't care. That's not what it's about. And you can tell that from that event that she hosted, where they blocked the Muslims and wouldn't let them come in. But people are not backing down. Today, there was a series of protest events in DC. Activists shut down main corridor in Washington, DC in front of the U.S. State Department to say end all U.S. aid to Israel. And if you guys follow Chuck Modi, sorry, I was trying to, oh, I did do it. And what's been interesting, and I got to give it up to the protesters, because even during the winter, the protests have continued. So I got to give props to the protesters, you guys. I was not going to do call-in tonight, but I feel like I should. I feel like I should after everything. There's a pretty interesting conversations today. But long story short, I hope what that showed you is that, again, there isn't that much difference from Democrats and Republicans. And that's what I wanted you to see. They both do similar things. They just do it in different ways.